look at their lifestyle, when you look at their behavior, is that something that you can follow? If it's honorable, well, then you should be honor, show them honor and double honor. If they are. Now, if it's questionable or it's been proven certain things, you're not obligated by the word. A lot of people just do it because they love the individual or their tenure or they've been teaching for 30, 40 years. We can't judge them off of one mistake, and that's up to the individual. You got a question?
Someone said, is a man of God supposed to have a job according to Scripture?
It depends. I would say if we want to use Shaul as an example, Shaul was a tent maker. He went out and he earned money. If you want to use Shaul, I don't know if you can pinpoint a scripture or have witnesses to that, to build a doctrine. But Shaul was a tent maker. But Shaul also said in 1 Corinthians 9, he that preaches the gospel should live of the gospel. Now some people might take that, how do you explain that then? If he preaches the gospel, he should live of the gospel. Does that mean he should be living what he preaches? Is that what that scripture is saying? He's preaching the gospel, so he should live like the gospel he preached. Maybe that's what he's saying. But if you take it in the context that it's written in, he's not talking about that. He's talking about wages. If you take that in that context. Maybe we should, huh? Want to look at that? 1 Corinthians 9. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 9. 1 Corinthians 9, let's start at verse 1, and let's it's in there. Am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have not I seen Yahushua Mashiach, our Adonai? Are not ye my work in you? If I be not an apostle unto others, yet doubtless I am to you, for the seal of my apostleship are ye in Yahushua. My answer to them that do examine me is this. So they must have asked Shaul the same thing. They must have asked Shaul, because he says, my answer to them that examine me is this. Have we not power to eat and to drink? Have we not power to lead about a sister, a wife, as well as other apostles, and as the brethren of our Adonai and Kepha? So he's saying, those who was with him, don't we have the power to lead about sisters and wives and like other apostles, to be leaders unto them, like our brethren of Adonai? Who was the brethren of Adonai? You had James, that was one. His name was Jacob, called him James, and he had other brothers. And Kepha, or I only, and Barnabas, have not we power to forbear working? Right? Should we not work? I mean, shouldn't we have the power to lead about women and sisters just like Kepha and Jacob and the rest of them? They're doing the same thing. Have we not power to forbear working? Which means I should have the power not to work. I should have. Who goeth a warfare at any time at his own charges? Who planteth a vineyard and eateth not of the fruit thereof? So you're planting a vineyard, and I do have a grapevine, but I thought I was going to get some grapes off it this year, but I didn't. But if I planted the grapevine and I'm trying to harvest the grapes and everything, don't I have a right to eat the grapes? Don't I have a right to harvest the grapes and do what I want with the grapes? If I planted it and I'm getting grapes off of it and fruit off of it? He gives the analogy, if you're building a ministry and you're working in that ministry, don't you have a right to the first fruits of it? That's what he's dealing with here. Does that make sense so far? Does it make? Either the fruit, or who feedeth a flock and eateth not of the milk of the flock? Say I these things as a man, or saith not the law the same also? So what Shaul says, let me teach you law. I'm going to teach you the law of Musha. And I'm dealing with, what is he dealing with here? Do I have to work? Isn't that what he's dealing with? Didn't we read that? Have not we power to forbear working? So that's what he's dealing with. Let's keep it in context. He says, now I'm going to teach you the law. Say I these things as a man, or saith not the law same also. Okay, verse number 9. For it is written in the law of Moshe, thou shalt not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treadeth out the corn. Doth Elohim take care for oxen? He asked the question, does he take care of oxen? Well, yeah, he takes care. Listen to what he said. Or saith he it altogether for whose sake? For our sake. For our sake, no doubt, this is written. So when he wrote the law, don't muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, who did he have in mind? That's what Shaul was dealing with. When he said, shall thou tread out, the law says, don't muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn. Isn't that what he said? Let's go to verse number 9 again. Thou shalt not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treadeth out the corn. Or grain, because they didn't have corn, but grain. So you don't restrict and put a muzzle on the mouth of the oxen. The oxen still has to eat. He still has to eat. And he says, or saith he altogether for our sake. For our sake, no doubt this is written. Is that what he said? So in the law of Moshe, when he says, muzzle not the ox that treadeth out the corn, he's writing that for our sake. He's writing that for our sake. That he that plows should plow in hope. I'm building this ministry. I got some kind of hope that I don't have to work. You might have to work until the ministry gets to the place where you don't have to. Like he says, can we forbear working? And that he that threshes in hope should be partaker of his hope. Verse number 11, if we have sown unto you spiritual things, is it a great thing if we reap your spiritual things? Oh, he didn't say spiritual things? If we have sown unto you spiritual, because some people might think, well, yeah, you're sown unto me spiritual. We're so spiritual and everything. And that's our offering to you, is that we're spiritual. How am I going to eat off your spiritualness? Unless you got a garden and you feed me and my family. Then I don't have to worry about it. Right? If we have sown unto you spiritual things, is it a great thing if we shall reap your carnal things? If others be partakers of this power over you, are not we rather? Nevertheless, we have not used this power, but suffer all things, lest we should hinder the gospel of Mashiach. So what he's saying is, we have not taken of your carnal things. Even though we could, we're not. We don't want to hinder you. We still want you to grow spiritually. And we do have the power to live off your carnal things, but we're not going to do it. So you have some pastors that say, yeah, I could probably, they probably can take care of me, but I'm still going to work. Now, if that affects your spirituality or the feeding, well, yeah, you're working and you're on the job, but you're on the job so much that you can't study and you can't feed us. Then it becomes a problem. Because he says, I'm going to give you shepherds that's supposed to feed you with knowledge and understanding. Do ye not know that which minister about holy things, they do what? They live of those holy things. Because the Levites, their inheritance, the Most High Yah says, I'm your inheritance. All I want you to do is take care of the temple, the ministry, the sacrifices, the offerings. That's all you have to do. You're my inheritance. You don't get nothing else. So how did they live? Since they didn't have no land or inheritance, how did they live? They lived off of everything that came into the temple. That's what they lived off of. And they which wait at the altar during the sacrifices and offerings are partakers with the offering. He even told them, when you take that fish hook or that hook and you throw it in the pot and you grab whatever comes out, that's what you eat. Talking to the Levites. Don't be so picky and choosy, because you know how we are. Chicken wings only. You know, I'm a leg man. I don't want no breast, no back, no wings. I'm a leg man. Some people might be a feet man. Yeah.
It seems like when we don't understand the culture back then, how things, it seems like
trying to word right. Our custom, today's custom of the church, it seems like it all deals with money, but they don't even understand that it's not always money. Because the Levitical tribe, it wasn't just money. They were being taken care of their clothes, their necessity, things that
Yeah.
they need to just sustain life. But in today's church culture, it's all about money, honoring with money, and that's not the case. And then they dictate. It's gotten to the point now, and Paul doesn't dictate his lifestyle. They're not dictating their lifestyle in today's churches. Leaders are dictating what lifestyle they want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's, to me, what I can't find that in scripture where they have to live like kings and things like that. I can't find that.
Yeah.
Because it's something about being humble and
There was
how they build
Mhm.
the ministry. It's
Paul was not a wealthy man,
no,
but there was people in the membership that were
yes.
wealthy, but he wasn't wealthy, and he moved around too much and ended up in jail, waiting to see Caesar while all these other churches was just growing. And you did have wealthy people in the church because he blessed his people and he increased them. He increased their goods. If they were faithful, he increased it.
Right. And the reason why I've learned this at the temple, sit down and talk to the rabbi, like, how come you don't live? He's like, and they were millionaires.
Yeah.
Part of the congregation.
Yeah.
But and I would have asked. I said, well, how come you don't live in a mansion and this and that and things like that?
Yeah, in fact, as a pastor or a feeder or whatever, you're actually taking the lower life because you actually could live better if, like the Levites, it's not that they were poor. They had things provided for them. And even when you had the sheep that were there, what do you think they did with all the wool? And then the cattle, what's the skin? What's that cattle? Yeah. So, and they had all of that. So so they could do things with it. They probably had more leather than anybody else. But it wasn't, they didn't look at leather like we look at leather. They might have looked at leather as, man, we got these poor leather bags. We look at it, leather bags? I want a leather bag, It's just a matter of perspective, So, but a lot of them, even Shaul says, look at my peril, look at my life, look at me. I mean, I don't think nobody desires to be like me. I'm kind of paraphrasing it because when you get into Corinthians, I think it's the 11th chapter of 2 Corinthians 11. I don't think nobody's, envying my lifestyle. Look what I had to go through. But there was people in the church that were well off. Ananias and Sapphira was well off. They had money. There's nothing wrong with having money. You had the rich young ruler that came to the Mashiach. He didn't say, you shouldn't be rich. He didn't say that. But once he started boasting and bragging, I've done all that since my youth up. Well, then sell all you have and get to the poor. You hit a heartstring there. You couldn't do that. But there's nothing wrong with having riches and being wealthy. He says it's the love of money that's the root to all of it. You can have some people that have a lot of money. They just, I just have to, this is a medium. I have to do this. They don't look at it like I want to do evil things. I want to do wicked things. How wicked can I be? I got a lot of money to be wicked. How wicked can I be? You have people who have money. That's not their thought. But a lot of times when you look at the Levitical and even the ministers and stuff, they were not the ones who were living high off the land. They weren't the ones who was driving the best cars, And every minister should look at the congregation and just pray that they have nice homes and nice cars and they're well taken care of. They got good budgets. He's increasing their need and everything. Not so I can have a bigger house than you. Well, I look out over the assembly and everybody's got Cadillacs and Lexus and Mercedes and everything. I better get me a Bentley because I got to be above the people. That's the wrong heart. That's the wrong heart. And you have some leaders, they don't want their assembly driving better cars than them. Oh, you guys got a nice car? Oh, you got a Lexus? Oh, I better get me a Lexus 500. I can't let them have a better Lexus than me. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. You should be praying that he does increase and enrich his people, because that's you'd probably have a little better life, but not that I can make merchandise of you. You know, oh, you bought a new house? How much square footage? Oh, the next week you're out looking for another house, 4-bedroom, 4,000 square feet. I got to be above the people. That's wrong. That's wrong. Because if you look at these people, they, like Paul, they didn't have a lot. Paul, he resorted to making tents. I'm a tent maker, you know, just to take care of myself. But he wanted them to be rich. Even so have Yahuwah ordained that they which preach the gospel should what? So when somebody say, well, if you preach the gospel, what he meant by preaching the gospel, you should live with the gospel. You should live by what you preach. Practice what you preach. That's what some people get from here. Practice what you preach. If you're preaching it, you should live of the same things you're preaching. That's not what he's dealing with here. You have to take it in context. What he's dealing with here is, should we forbear working? And then he goes on and explains it. So this verse isn't practice what you preach. If he deals with that in Romans, the 3rd chapter, I think. He deals with those who preach the law, but then they break the law. And he says, if you preach, thou shalt not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? If you preach, thou shalt not steal, do you steal? He deals with that in Romans. But here he's dealing with, in the context, he's dealing with, should I forbear working? You know, and it should be, if I'm sowing, then I should be able to reap. If you are being blessed spiritually, what's wrong with me being blessed carnally? That's what he's dealing with. Does that answer the questions? Anybody out there, did I answer the question? I don't know. Sister, so there was a question in here that the Levite wasn't supposed to work or have a job. Yeah, can you prove that you're a Levite? Can you chase your lineage back and prove that you're a Levi or you're of the Levitical tribe? And the problem with a lot of those Levites was when he raised let's go to Yahuchanan chapter 11, when he raises Lazarus from the dead. Yahuchanan 11, and let's look at verse, 35. I think that's where Yahusha cried. Yeah, Yahusha wept. Okay, let's go down to the end of this chapter, because he raises Lazarus from the dead. Now, notice what these people say. Let's go up here. After he, look at verse number 48. Because this is, verse 47. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and what? Take both our place and nation. These were the Pharisees. These were the Levitical. They were afraid they were going to lose their job. So they wanted to put Yahusha to death. If you can prove that you are a Levite, and you can go back and in your genealogy, and you can prove that you're a Levite, even your profession was taken from you, because Yahusha, when he rose from the dead, he became our high priest after the order of Melchizedek, and it's that priesthood we're under now. I'm not under the Levitical priesthood. In fact, you can't keep the Levitical priesthood because they're scattered throughout all the nations, and there is no temple. There is no temple. So the Levites are without a job, unless you want to go get some work and do something. Because for the Levites to live off of the children of Israel, we're not under that. We're under the order of Melchizedek, because that was one of the questions. The Levite wasn't supposed to work or have a job. Under when they were a nation and the Levites were the inheritance of the Most High, because he says, you're my inheritance, that's correct. They didn't have a job. That's correct. But where are we now? Are we under the Levitical priesthood or are we under the Melchizedek priesthood, Melchizedek? We're under Melchizedek priesthood. And that did anger a lot of Pharisees and a lot of Levites. We got a new high priest now? Wait a minute now. So it did bother some of the Levites. Now, here's my thing, and maybe somebody can help me or I could do some more study on it. When he restores Israel back together as a nation, is he going to restore the Levitical priesthood back? And they're going to go back into their office. Because remember now, we got a high priest now, Yahushua Mashiach. It's evident in Hebrews, we got a high priest. And he's after the order of Melchizedek. Why is he after the order of Melchizedek, our high priest? Why is he after that order?
Because the Levites messed up?
Because the Levites, well, the whole nation did. But why is he after the order of Melchizedek? He's our high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Why? What's in that order? Yeah, somebody said it. He was king and priest. Melchizedek was king of Salem and high priest of the Most High Yah. And that order being order of the king and the priest. Now, there was somebody else in that order, and we don't like to take some critical study because a lot of people don't like to admit it, but King Daud was in that order. He was in that order of Melchizedek. He was priest and he was king. And he made a covenant with his throne that his throne was going to be what? Everlasting. Because he came in that order. King Daud came in that order of king and priest. He made a covenant with that throne. It's going to last forever. And the one who's going to sit on it is going to be our Messiah. Yahushua Mashiach is going to sit on that throne. And King Daud says, Yahuwah said unto my Adonai, sit thou here until I make your enemies thy footstool. Did that answer the question? Ben Yasharal, did that answer the question? The question about the Levites weren't supposed to work, that is true. That is true. Because they didn't get an inheritance. Their job was the temple, strictly the temple. That was their job. So that is true, but the order that we're under now, the Melchizedek order, and you can have a pastor or a raha or a shepherd that's not in the line of Levi, because most of us don't know, of the 12 tribes, if we're, connected to the 12 tribes, if we're a Levite or not. Now, I believe that those who came over here on the transatlantic slave trade was of the house of Judah. I do believe that. But not all the house. I believe they were descendants of Israel, but not all the house, because all of the 12 tribes, they were scattered. They were scattered around the world. And some of them were scattered before the transatlantic slave trade. But the transatlantic slave trade consisted of, and you can look at the manifest, and almost all those names had Yah in it. One of the names, I remember looking at one of the names was Yah. That was their name, Yah. Y-A-H, that was their name, Yah. And there was other ones that had Yah in their name. They were descendants of the tribes of Israel, transatlantic slave trade. But I also believe that, and the reason why I believe this, the aboriginals to this land, those who were over here in the United States at the time of Solomon, I'm not talking about modern day native Indians, but those who were here in the time of Solomon. Now, why do I say that? Anybody know why I said? Because I've shared it before.
The rock in Arizona?
Yeah, in New Mexico, the Los Lunas stone in New Mexico. It has the 10 commandments in Paleo Hebrew on an 80-ton stone that dates back 3,000 plus years. Well, who was here 3,000 years ago? Well, Solomon had a navy. And his navy went, so everywhere they went, that was their covenant. The 10 Commandments was their covenant. So you had descendants of Israel that was in this land about 3,000 years ago. So they were scattered, around the world. Okay. So let's finish this up in Ezekiel, because we're going to break and we're going to have something to eat. We got some food here. Sister Hazlet, my Isha, went to get all them chicken wings. Ezekiel 22, is it? No, 20. Ezekiel 20, verse 38, 39. We're going to finish that up. 38, let's look at 38. All those that transgress against me, and I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Yasharah. The ones that he deals with face to face, and he gets rid of all the rebels and all the transgressors, they're not going into the promised land. All the rebels and all the transgressors. So if you have a hard time keeping Torah today, don't think it's going to get easier. It's not going to get easier. You got some folk, if you don't even believe in the Shabbat, oh, you're going to be brought under this rod, this covenant. You got to give up first day worship. I'd rather give it up now and get in practice. Get in practice, because he is Adonai of the Shabbat, and we all are going to keep the Shabbat. And if you say anything about Constantine's Sunday, I'm going to get rid of him. Next, I'm getting rid of. Ain't going to be no pagan. Ain't going to be no putting on the mask and dressing your kids up to be Spider-Man and Little Hulk and all these Bluey and all these folks. Ain't going to be none of that. I'm going to get rid of them. Everybody that transgress, everybody that's into idolatry. You might have some people that in the wilderness waiting to see him face to face. Oh, I miss Valentine. I want my Valentine. Oh, get rid of that one. Ain't gonna be no pagan. Yes.
We were talking about convocation. As I read, we're supposed to have some sort of convocation before each feast.
Yeah, the feasts are actually a convocation. It's a.
When I read about the Feast of Tabernacles, first day you're supposed to have a holy convocation.
Yes, the first day is a high and holy day, and the 8th day. Right.
So we don't have holy convocation for any of our feasts.
We tried the Feast of Trumpets. We held our convocation downstairs.
Okay, I didn't know that was.
Yeah, that was a holy convocation, because remember what it says about a convocation. That's when you come together, assembly, and you open up the scroll and read it. That's the holy convocation, and that's what we did for those who participated. That's what we did.
So the Feast of Tabernacles, the first day of the holy convocation.
Right.
And the last day.
Right. And the first day this year, the first day falls on the first day of the week, what we call Sunday, but it falls on October 9th. October 9th is the 15th day of the 7th month. And if you notice in the sky, you can see the moon getting a little bigger in the sky, because that's a new moon. When you first see the first glimpse of that new moon, that's the first day of the month. And it hit on the 25th, so that was trumpets. We do have Yom Kippur coming up this Wednesday, October 5th, because it's the 10th day of the 7th month. And we'll have a affliction of ourselves, which starts at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on October 5th, which is Wednesday. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Wednesday, October 5th. That's the 10th day of the 7th month, which they call Yom Kippur. Did I pronounce that? Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. That's what it's saying, the Day of Atonement. And it says we're supposed to afflict ourselves. I was thinking, Father Yah, how do I get them to afflict themselves? And it was there was actually 3 things that came up. Number 1, fast. Number 2, take their money. Because you take people's money, you take their bank, you take their treasure, they're going to be afflicted. So you fast, take their money, or take something else from them. And that's what I was teaching on Wednesday, that no man has seen God at any time. No man has seen Yah at any time. So when you seen his son, Yahushua Mashiach, you were not looking at Elohim. So I said, well, now let me work on that for a minute. Let me kind of work on that. Because I know how we are, you know. Because you have a lot of people, I'll probably see it in the chat. Jesus was God. No, it wasn't. No. No, but that's what we were taught. No, that's what we believe. Do you know when you get into certain organizations, you have to repeat that? And they get you under that? Repeat after me. Jesus was God. Do you believe Jesus was God? And you get locked into that without any inspirational teaching of the script. Because Yahusha never said he was. He always said, I'm the son. In fact, anybody who denies his sonship has the spirit of the Antichrist. If you deny his sonship. That's what he says. 1 John, 4th chapter, he deals with it. If you don't say he came in the flesh, you deny his sonship, you got the spirit of the Antichrist. So you know who had the spirit of the Antichrist? Rome. Rome had the spirit of the Antichrist, and their vicar of Christ has the spirit of the Antichrist. And it's Rome that says God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. That comes from Rome. Doesn't come from Jerusalem. Does not come from Jerusalem. Yes?
I don't know if you did your research, but Pope Francis met with religious leaders, and they just enacted Christian.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't go into any depth about it, but I heard about Christian, which they're trying to bring Christianity and Islam together. You know why they're doing that is because both of them come out of the Catholic Church. So they're trying to bring their children together. See, everybody who say they're a Christian, you're under the umbrella of Roman Catholicism. If you say you're a Christian, you're under the umbrella of Roman Catholicism. No, we're Protestant. You can protest all you want, but you're under because they're the ones that created Christianity. Not our book. Our book did not create Christianity. In fact, to be called a Christian was like being cussed out or being called the N-word today. That's what it was back then. So it wasn't no, and so you gotta go?
Yeah, I gotta take Nathan home.
Oh, you gotta take Nathan? Oh, we're done then.
Oh, okay.
I only got one person back there in the meeting. So yeah, we're gonna finish up. We'll finish up with this. I'll stay here and answer some of your questions, but we're gonna go offline. Everybody that's joining in on our two platforms, YouTube and Facebook, we say Shabbat Shalom to you. Wednesday is Yom Kippur, and we'll be fasting from 6A to 6P on Wednesday. Yom Kippur, 6A to 6P. We will be meeting here. We have our regular routine Bible study here at